things are heating up off the water as well as on in the 34th America's Cup. Oracle Team USA were looking to build on their vital Sunday win, and at the start of race 5, it looked as though they had put their problems behind them.
Oracle will get over the top and give them disturbed air. Oracle will be ahead at Mark 1.
A second victory seemingly in Oracle's grasp.
We're seeing Oracle show pace on this first run. It's windy out there, and Oracle is really showing some jets.
Questionable tactics at gate 2 eliminated the American lead and put the Kiwis back in the race.
This is really interesting tactics by Oracle. I don't really know what they're doing right now, to be honest.
4 out of 5 for the Kiwis, and Oracle were scrambling for answers. Race number 5 goes in the books. Emirates Team New Zealand is your winner. The Americans decided to cut their losses, electing to postpone for the day.
We need to go back and regroup. We feel they've got a bit of an edge on us at the moment. We're going to play the card strategically and hopefully improve in time for the next race.
The defender has been backed into a corner. The challenger senses blood in the water. This is day 4 of the 34th America's Cup. Welcome to San Francisco, the backdrop for the 34th America's Cup. Alongside Gary Jobson and Kenny Reed, I'm Todd Harris. Glad to have you with us in the city by the bay. Big drama taking place on the day off as the Americans elect to make a key change on board. More on that as we get closer to racing, as we are scheduled for 2 races today. But it's now up to Sir Ben Ainslie as he comes on board the American team, Kenny, as a tactician.
Well, Todd, is this panic or genius? Bringing Ben Ainslie into a position where he hasn't really sailed before. He's a helmsman. He's not a tactician. But I think Oracle just thinks they need a change at this stage.
And meanwhile, it's all smiles for the Kiwis, but you know Dean Barker will keep that ship very tight.
Hammer down for the Kiwis. There's really not much to change. Everything's going right for these guys. If they get behind, they can pass. They get ahead, they stretch. What's there not to like?
On day number 3, it was the Americans that looked good early on. The Kiwis kept the pressure on, and then there was a small case of an interesting tactic around gate number 2.
I think, Todd, when you get into a position as a tactician and you think you're slow, which clearly they think they were slow on these upwind legs, you start to make moves that you wouldn't make necessarily, and that was the case at that mark.
So after a day off, Ken, it looks like we are just about set to go racing, and the Kiwis are going to hold pat.
Starting up front with the dagger board trimmers, Jeremy Lomas and Adam Bichel, they control the in and out and fore and aft angles of the dagger boards. In the middle of the boat, you have the power source, Chris McCasey, Grant Dalton, Derek Sayward, Rob Waddell, and Chris Ward. They just grind entire race long. And then, of course, the trimmers, the wing trimmer, Glenn Ashby and James Dagg trimming the jib up in the front of the boat. And of course, then the afterguard. These guys have been sailing together for years. This has got to be a major strength of this boat. Tactician Ray Davies and helmsman Dean Barker.
So the Kiwis, a proven commodity as they make their way out to the boats. And for Dean Barker, they can rejoice in getting the 4 wins, but it will be business as usual today. Put the hammer down on the Americans.
Well, you know, the crew change on Oracle today, well, you know, that's just something that they've decided to do. I'm sure they've got their reasons for it. You know, it really doesn't affect us at all. You know, we will still race the same way we have been. You know, we're looking to try and improve, you know, our percentages around Mark 1. And, you know, we'll just keep pushing hard with that. So, you know, we'll work hard on the start, the acceleration, everything else.
And for the defenders of the Cup, Oracle Team USA, they have made some serious changes.
And they set up their boat differently from a crew handling standpoint. Shannon Falcone and Joe Spooner are strictly grinders up in the front of the boat. In the middle, you have a lot going on, controlling hydraulics, controlling the offside jib trim. These guys are also grinders and also serious horsepower in the program. In the back, you have wing trimmer Kyle Langford, a newcomer to the crew for this event, and also Joe Newton, who's the jib trimmer, controlling the foil in the front of the boat. And then, of course, the big changes. Jimmy Spithill and Tom Slingsby remain in place, but Ben Ainslie on board as tactician for John Kostecki.
So the Americans in need of a win in a big-time way. They lean on 4-time Olympic gold medalist Ben Ainslie, but for Jimmy Spithill, the helmsman, he's playing it off like it's no big thing.
I've always talked about doing rotation and making changes, and we've gone ahead. We've brought Ben on, and we should. He's a great sailor. I mean, both he and John have been working together over the past couple of days to just go through the communication loops. But yeah, both great sailors, and looking forward to sailing with him.
I've been with Oracle Team USA for about 12 months now. Got involved after the London 2012 Olympics. And my role within the team is helping the sailing team to develop, prepare for the America's Cup finals. I've had a few experiences before this with the America's Cup. The first time was with the One World Challenge back in 2003, which was another American team. And then with Emirates Team New Zealand for the 2007 Cup. We then started a British team for the 2010 America's Cup, but unfortunately that fell apart. This team is very different to the other teams I've been involved with. In a way, it's quite a corporate team because it's quite an old team now. So there is, I suppose in a way, there's that greater family that's built around the team being together for such a long period, but also it's a very big team. Driving one of these boats is probably the most intense experience I've ever had. So I sort of got chucked in at the deep end with very little practice and sort of was expected to get the boat around the course. And I had to watch a lot of what Jimmy was doing. He's done a great job developing the skills and his team. And then just getting in there and getting on with it. And it took a lot of focus. I've never concentrated so hard in my life other than when I think I was learning to fly aeroplanes. And these AC-72s, which are, not only are they massive, hugely powered monsters tearing around at ridiculous speeds, but we also have 11 guys on the boat, so it's much more about teamwork and learning the skills with this new design of boat. Definitely you can pass on these boats, and the start will be super critical.
Oracle Team USA first up on the foils and pulling forward just a little bit. Crucial part of this race right now, boat speed contest. Who can reach fastest to this mark?
If you make a bad jibe, you can lose a couple of 100 metres in these boats. If one team makes that mistake, the other team will pounce and make a pass. So I'd expect to see some closer racing. So there are certain strategies you can use, and then when you see someone's got an advantage, then I would expect the other boat to really start getting stuck in. And I think if that's the case, that Oracle needs to start being more aggressive.
So there you see the course in the superimposed entry box with the Golden Gate Bridge in the distance. As Oracle Team USA prepares, they will have port entry. That'll be first entry into the box. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. As we take a look at the points right now, and remind you, the Americans were docked 2 points prior to the start of the America's Cup. That's why they have no points despite one win. So in effect, it is 4 to -1. And if the Americans get a win here in this race, they will pull even. If they can get a win in the second race today, it would be 4 to 1. Big changes coming today for Oracle Team USA. Ben Ainsley, there you see him in the back. He is now the tactician, a man that's used to driving the boat, will play tactician for Jimmy Spithill there in the middle of your screen, second from the left. Weather will certainly be a factor, as it always is here in the San Francisco Bay. For more on that, a man who has won the America's Cup as a tactician, Gary Jobson out in the water. Jobbo, how's it look?
Well, right now the wind is good, 12 knots, but it's very shifty. This is going to put a lot of pressure on the tacticians. Ben Ainsley hasn't been racing. He's got an intellectual challenge ahead of him today. Hey, by the way, Ben Ainsley's the first Englishman to sail in the America's Cup finals since Peter Scott back in 1964. The pressure is on him today.
No question about it. Gary, more from you throughout the racing today. Here is the course from the aerial view and our virtual eye. And can those small arrows indicate a smaller or less of a flood tide?
That's right, a flood tide, and this should be actually an advantage to Oracle today because there isn't the big change from side to side. You see it's fairly consistent, right side of the course to the left side of the course. That means Oracle doesn't have to get into these tight tacking situations up the left side of the race course. It'll be more about wind shifts than it will be about tide.
And as we take a look at the course, as always, it is 5 legs.
5 legs, quick reach to the first mark, crucial first reach to the first mark. Let's put it that way. I think Oracle has to be ahead at Mark 1 to have a chance of winning these races. Up and down, 1.5 laps, and then a quick reach into the finish right off of America's Cup Park.
So we're just about to set to go racing. One of the key elements in this race, and something that a lot of people ask all the time, is who has the right of way? Knowing the right of way is a key to knowing the game.
When boats are on the open race course, there are a few major rules that help determine who is right away and who has to keep clear. If boats are going in the same direction, there are 2 basic rules. 1, if they are not overlapped, the boat clear ahead has the right of way of the boat that's clear astern. If they are overlapped, then the leeward boat, or the boat that is downwind of the other boat, has right of way. If they are not heading in the same direction, when the wind is coming over the right-hand side of the boat, they're on starboard tack. And if the wind is coming over the left-hand side of the boat, it is on port tack. And when the 2 boats converge, the starboard tack boat has right of way. Knowing the game means understanding the rules, an integral part of sailboat racing at any level.
Day 4, races 6 and 7. John Kostecki on the left-hand side. The man on the right is Sir Russell Coutts. Probably the man that made the decision to change out Kostecki for Sir Ben Ainslie. And Larry Ellison, the head man for Oracle, who has bankrolled this whole Oracle Team USA. He is the defender of the Cup right now, looking very comfortable and casual. But Kenny, I imagine he's going to put the pressure on his boys today.
All 3 of them look comfortable and casual, to use your phrase, Todd, but I'm guessing they're churning inside. This is do or die day for Oracle. They gotta hope that this change to tactician spot pays off, or things are gonna go bad really fast.
You will get the greatest views and the greatest sounds on board. We'll try to let you listen in when possible, as we are 2:22 away from the start, and it'll be Team USA on the left side of your screen that gets port entry, which means they get a 10-second advantage going into the start box, and then it's up to them to try and dictate or force New Zealand's hand.
We'll really look for communication today, and a lot of this rides on the young strategist, Tom Slingsby. He's got to be the link in between the tactical role and the helmsman. He's been there this whole time. I think Tom Slingsby's a key player in today's race.
10, standing by. 3, 2, 1, driving.
So
Very
the cat and
aggressive
mouse
move there. Yeah, Todd, very aggressive move for New Zealand. Jump in right away.
This is the cat and mouse game, Gary, as they try to get themselves into position, forcing the other team's hand. And remember, they cannot cross the start line until it hits 0.
What we saw there, Todd, was the breeze is much more out of the left or coming off the shore than we've seen in the past. It was actually difficult for Oracle to get across Team New Zealand because of the angle of the wind. This has set them up to be in a tougher spot than usual.
Good, this is good.
Right now, we have a 1.8 knot flood current, so being on the windward side of the start will be helpful.
Here we go. Let's get it going here. Big speed build here.
Jimmy sounds pretty comfortable, but you know, this is going to be a tough spot. There's a lot of pushing and rocking to go on here. There's still a long time to go before this start. Team New Zealand is in a reasonably comfortable spot. They're getting close to the line.
On the wing, we're almost racing here. We're racing, full speed.
What he's done very well, Todd, is get them down to that yellow line or the lay line to the pin. Really good strategy if you're early for the line. I think he could be in complete control here by the start.
10 seconds away. This is race number 6, day 4 of the 34th America's Cup. The Americans have the advantage with Sir Ben Ainslie as the tactician. Will it pay off? We are clean to go racing. So as they cross the line, Gary Jobson, you gotta like what you're seeing if you're a fan of Oracle Team USA.
Oracle played it perfectly. New Zealand a little too aggressive, too early, too far away from the line, and as a result, they're 4 boat lengths behind. Big mistake by the Kiwis.
Ben Ainsley on the far right-hand side of your screen, normally a helmsman playing the role of tactician today. At mark number 1, it is the defenders of the Cup, Oracle Team USA, with their biggest lead so far here in the America's Cup.
So, Todd, that was all about Jimmy Spithill. There was nothing to do with any tactics there. That was the instincts of the driver. They came back early to the start line, but he did a really nice job of getting down to that lay line and really making no place for the Kiwis to get around them. A perfect blocking scenario.
Little build. We are lower. And go trip. Stand by. Stand by job, guys. Keep it going here, Jimmy. Little build if you can. Little puff coming down the shore. And no slow here. Go wing. Stand by, guys. Yeah, go bottom, Tommy. Final time, Jimmy. Yeah, sort of. Give it a go. I think so, no.
And Jimmy Spithill decides now is the time to jibe right when the Kiwis go. It looks like they're much closer than they are, but the Americans still maintain about a 70-meter lead over the Kiwis, but it's dropping quickly because the Kiwis jibe much faster.
A marginal jibe by Oracle. They came off the foils, whereas Emirates Team New Zealand didn't. And all of a sudden, they've gone from a nice little lead to a really tough spot. They're going to need jets to get out from underneath potentially the wing wash of Emirates Team New Zealand.
Keep going, guys, keep going.
This is
Crucial
leg
moment.
2 of 5 for the Americans with a small lead. Remember, their lead was 9 seconds around mark number 1. We check in on the water with Gary Jobson.
The big game out here is getting a win. These gusts come in. If you get it first, and that's where New Zealand is, you're going to accelerate and have a big advantage. And the wing going across on Oracle just seems to be slow, where the New Zealand boat, in contrast, it pops through and they accelerate a little faster.
Good drive, maybe. Wing on, wing on, wing. 300. Keep the speed on. Stand by, boys, here. Okay. Go, Tommy, go, Barton, go, wing. Go, Barton, go, board.
Big moments in this race, Todd. This is very close. Whether Oracle, they've done what they needed to do and actually gotten out from underneath the potential wing wash of Emirates Team New Zealand, but these jibes have to be smooth. We see how much you can gain or lose with a bad jibe.
Coming on you here. Yeah, he's faster, but he can't go anywhere.
That's on board Oracle.
Building on you now, the pressure.
Big decision coming up, but which gate do you take?
Got about a minute till we get to the zone.
We'll see what that wing wash does to the Kiwis. Still traveling at over 29 knots, which translates to 33.4 miles an hour. Now remember, they were a deficit of 9 seconds behind the Americans. Right now, Ken, it looks like down to about 2 seconds.
Yeah, well, it's been rumored that Oracle is a little quicker, and we've seen this on the run. Besides that one jibe, they are a little bit faster going downwind. We're seeing it again here today, but this is what the sailors feel as well, talking to them yesterday in between races.
He's higher, faster. They're setting up now. Let them go, eh?
20 seconds to
Best pressure looks here. They jive.
Pressure's okay here, it's just lifting us a bit.
Oh,
though,
it's starting to get soft in there. I think right here is good. Probably
15 seconds.
Yeah, copy.
Very interesting there, Todd. You're seeing Tom Slingsby, the strategist, being far more vocal today than he's been in the past with Kostecki in the boat. Completely different tone in the back of the boat.
Negative lay, Dino. Good chance of a piece, okay?
Number 10 is Ray Davies, the tactician for Emirates Team New Zealand, in constant communication with his skipper and helmsman, Dee Barker.
And he just said, good chance for a piece. That means that when they jibe back, they're going to be on starboard tack. He thinks they might have a port starboard situation coming up with Oracle.
And And once again, the Kiwis able to stay almost completely on the foils as they make that jibe or turn back into the course as they get close to the boundary.
It's tougher in this light air, though. It's really hard. They'll be minimizing maneuvers really close cross.
Now, if you're the Americans, are you going to jibe right on top of them?
No, you're gonna extend here. Make sure you lay the mark. Make sure you only have to do one more jibe into the gate and possibly do one less maneuver. That's where you're going to pick up distance. Right at the bottom, Oracle's going to have to go at least one more time as well. Just minimize your maneuvers.
10.
Guys, make it simple. That's what they got to be thinking.
Just go wing on if you can. Go wing up. 5. Stand by. Okay, go bottom. Go board. Ball's coming back.
And a little better jibe there on that time. As we go on the water, Gary Jobson, how do you like Oracle's setup as they get ready for gate number 2?
I like Oracle's position. One starboard with the right of way, coming down to the mark, and they're doing a good job jibing. This whole race is going to come down to which tactician can call where the wind is on the next leg going to windward.
All right, Jabo, if you were out there being a tactician role for Oracle Team USA, would you head closer to the shore? Would you head out and try to take advantage of a possible cone situation behind Alcatraz?
If I'm on board Oracle, I take the cone, less current. 1.8 knots is a lot of current down here, and Oracle needs to stay out of it. Go up the cone.
Kenny, do you agree?
Well, they are set up for a split here, though. That's the only thing. Emirates Team New Zealand forced a split here. Likely Oracle rounds the mark on the right, on the left side of our screen, and Team New Zealand will round the right one. This is going to force a split right out of the box.
Gate number 2, it's Oracle Team USA with the lead. Can they hold on to it as they will head in towards shore? And the Kiwis at gate number 2 look like they will try and take advantage of the less current behind Alcatraz Island.
I think you're going to find Oracle roll into attack here fairly soon and try to take advantage of the cone. We'll see.
And amazingly, the Americans increased their lead from mark 1 to 2 by 3 seconds.
About 45.
This has been the kryptonite for Oracle Team USA. Leg 3 of these races going back upwind, where the Kiwis have taken advantage in almost every race and retaken the lead if they've trailed.
There's Oracle coming back. They'll play the inside edge of the cone. Keep in mind, this is a really close race, and New Zealand will have right away when the two boats come together again.
Ken, from our perspective down here on the water, New Zealand has more wind, more pressure, and that's making them go faster. Good opportunity for New Zealand to advance.
Nice gains here. Standing by in 3, 2, 1. Nice pressure out of it.
And it is almost a dead heat right now with the Americans trying to maintain their lead. It goes away, but as the tack comes from the Kiwis, the Americans get it back by just about 3 or 4 meters.
Yet another incredibly tight cross by these two guys. Just amazing match racing between high-speed catamarans here at San Francisco Bay.
See the arrows on there, those are superimposed. That gives you an idea of how strong the current is, the flood current coming from underneath the Golden Gate Bridge.
This is an America's Cup moment for Oracle, and it looks like they're dipping.
Ainsley calls for a duck.
White flag, just tell me once around.
Oh, how close can it get?
And after the duck, the both bows nosedive and slow the boat down.
Let's keep it going here.
So the Americans have filed a protest against the Kiwis.
30 seconds to boundary.
I have to be honest with you, Todd, I have no idea why.
20's good here. Happy with normal numbers.
And no penalty. The umpires say no penalty, so sail on.
Now they're out of the current. Oracle's in the better part of the cone right now. They're out of the current. They might be able to have a piece of Emirates Team New Zealand on the way back out on starboard tack, but they have to be able to be more agile tacking. This has been their downfall for this entire event, is tacking. and they get the lead back. The cone is dominant at this stage. Gary, the current up in there must be almost going the other direction, almost be a back eddy to an M situation behind Alcatraz Island.
Yeah, Ken, and not only is the current more advantageous underneath the island, for some reason there's a little bit more wind under there, helping the right side of the course get these boats in a lead. So right now, New Zealand's going to the better place.
Standing by.
And the wind is picking up. We started the race with the wind at about 12 knots. It's now up to 13.5 knots.
I agree with Oracle. At this stage, they could have done 2 more tacks, gotten a little bit more current relief, but that's when they've gotten in trouble, Todd. They try to do too much. Now it's time to leg it out and try to let the boat do its thing.
20 to 21.
Copy, a little build even. Go wing. Go slower here.
No, slower.
You know, a little bit.
No, lower, slower than 20.
Yeah.
Okay. Tricky though, but I can tack and get behind me. We can almost cross. We're not.
So the Americans with a lead that is down underneath, holding right now at 48 meters. We go back on board Emirates Team New Zealand. The challengers, both boats traveling at about 19 knots, which comes at roughly around 21.9 miles per hour, and they are heading upwind back towards the Golden Gate Bridge.
We're a little lower, a little faster. This is okay. Square for 250. You got him in a good lockdown here. Do not beat tags. Okay, he's setting up to tag. Got to look to leeward. He won't cross. Happy to protect right though.
There you go. They don't think Oracle's going to cross here. Even though they're showing ahead on the head behind line, they don't think they're going to cross. We're about to see yet another pass.
Tactician Ray Davies staying on the left side of the boat, number 10.
Okay, Team New Zealand's doing what's called a dial down here right now. They're reaching off and heading straight at Oracle to force Oracle to do a worse duck than they normally would. Really aggressive match racing move by Dean Barker.
Normal tack.
And a protest coming from the Americans.
They think they went too far on the dial down. We'll see what the umpires think.
You're allowed to dial down to about 60 degrees true wind. Beyond that, you could be in trouble.
The action on the San Francisco Bay. It is day 4, race number 6 of the America's Cup. The Americans with only 1 win, the Kiwis with 4 win.
If we tacked, he could probably tack.
And this was just moments ago on the cross between the Kiwis and the Americans.
Ray Davies set this up early that he thought they weren't going to cross, and they just pointed at him. They made them do an overly aggressive turn down to avoid the right away Emirates Team New Zealand. Really good match racing, aggressive move by Dean Barker.
Is this sailing's version of chicken?
I think that's exactly what it is, as a matter of fact.
So the Kiwis now have the lead, 28 meters and growing, but are the Americans in a better position, Ken?
This is a tough one. I think the Americans, if they don't have a cross here, then all of a sudden it's the normal Kiwi stretch. They've gotten into attacking contest up that left side. I don't think they had a choice. They had to tack for the boundary anyway. All of a sudden the Kiwis are showing their dominance when it comes to tacking.
AC Liveline giving you an idea of the disturbed air coming off that big wing of the Kiwis, sending it right back to the Americans.
Gary, interesting that Emirates Team New Zealand decided not to cover in that situation and allowed for a little bit of a split here.
Well, I think they want to get out of the current. It's simple as that. I mean, one of the things we're learning here is that the hull shape in New Zealand, which is much fuller and rounder, is able to do a better job going through the tacks, as we're watching now. That very fine hull that the American boat has, they're not able to keep the momentum going through the tacks. That's the difference we're seeing right now.
Aggressive racing coming from the Kiwis, and we'll give you an aerial view of that last cross And as Ken draws this up, what exactly are they trying to force the Americans to do?
Yeah, the dial down by Emirates Team New Zealand, you couldn't see how far. They went from a beat to a reach, which means they sailed away from the breeze a little bit, forced Oracle to do a much wider turn to avoid them.
Here it is on virtual eye.
That's right. Watch New Zealand. They're going to take a left-hand turn and play chicken, just like you said. They're going to force Oracle way up high to do a radical turn down that typically gains you about another boat length during the maneuver, and that's about how much they crossed by.
Back to live racing action, and almost like clockwork on leg number 3, the Kiwis are starting to stretch their lead over Oracle Team USA, the defenders.
Yeah, they're going to force Oracle into attacking contest here, Gary. They know their advantage. They're just going to keep pinning them up against the boundary on the left side of the race course and force them to attack because they know that's their Achilles heel.
You know, Ken, watching these guys here, I think the combination of Slingsley and Ainsley, they haven't made any tactical mistakes here. It's really tacking ability and a little bit of boat speed that's making the difference. However, let's keep in mind that Oracle is going a little faster downwind, and we have a long run to the finish line.
There is Ray Davies, number 10, the 41-year-old from New Zealand. Not only is he a tactician, but they've got him working as a grinder as well, maybe the most active man on the Emirates Team New Zealand boat.
Doing a little of everything. He's got to keep his head out of the boat, though. They're going to tack on Oracle again. They're going to keep forcing them to that short side boundary and make them tack because they know they're a weak tacker. This is brilliant strategy right out of the textbook, exactly what they should be doing.
Setting up again here.
Gaining every time, boys. Dig it in. Yep.
Hear them saying they're gaining every time, and just to go to your point, Kenny, the crew doesn't enjoy it right now, but if they get the victory, they'll be happy that they did it. But this is just hard work, tack after tack, especially going upwind, and the Americans are just getting covered.
A bit of a broken record here right now, but the Kiwis just slowly pulling away. The more they tack, the more they're going to pull away, and they know it, we know it, Oracle knows it, unfortunately.
Going all the way, Jimmy. There's a good puff in there. They continue.
You hear Ben talking about a big puff in there. They're looking for anything at this stage. They're looking for pressure out there too, Gary. And with this left-hand shift, it's not unheard of. It's not unheard of to get big left-hand shifts off of the shore front, Gary.
Well, those left-hand shifts just aren't there at the moment. It's very light out here. Light. We're only a couple 100 meters away from them right now. The big deal is the current. The current is increasing. The flood current's coming in stronger and stronger. So New Zealand is a little bit at risk being out in the middle of the bay right now.
Maybe a little gain to him, but
a little gain to Oracle, and the reason is the current is less along the shoreline.
Same again.
We're fine, Ray, we're fine.
About 20 seconds. Now keep it going a little further, Dino.
9 tacks each on this upward leg 3 of 5, and it's the Kiwis with a 5-boat length lead. Remember, they trailed by 9 seconds, or 12 seconds, excuse me, after mark number 2, 9 seconds after mark number 1.
Really nice puff out of us.
All right, the million-dollar question, Kenny, what can Oracle do to get out of sequence, to find some pressure, to do anything to get back in this race?
Boy, oh boy, I need to hand that one off to our tactician on the water because they've been forced into the narrow side of the race course. Again, completely playing into the strategy of Emirates Team New Zealand, which is the better maneuvering boat. They've done, on New Zealand, they've done exactly what they needed to do. Oracle's tacking a little better, though, Gary, I think, than we've seen in the past. They're not losing quite as much as they have in the past, keeping it closer.
Yeah, one of the reasons is the wind is so light. I mean, if you're Oracle, Kenny, you just got to stop tacking. If they get tacked on, do 2 quick tacks, and that's it. and try and stay on straight line. I mean, let's not forget, there's a long downwind leg. Oracle was a little faster in the slight stuff downwind, and the whole game right now is to keep it close.
Set up, boys.
Through the beauty of virtual eye, here you see the number of tacks, and that is just a nightmare for the grinders, isn't it?
It's a nightmare for the grinders, and it's a nightmare for Oracle, to be honest. This is just exactly the strategy that they didn't want to have. But it's not like they've chosen it. They've been masterfully pushed into this position by Team New Zealand.
Bending around the left-hander here.
New Zealand's game here, Kenny, is to somehow either sit on Oracle's win or, better yet, make him make 2 extra tacks just before the mark.
Rob Waddell, number 11, Chris Ward, number 7, doing some great work. There you see the lead on the course, almost 200 meters to the Kiwis as they get ready to hit the next mark.
Grinders are earning their paycheck today, Todd.
Hitting him this time, and we're on lay right gate. Hitting him in about 20 seconds, guys. Oh, they keep going here.
This is where you put your nail in the coffin, Gary. This is that last tack. If Emirates Team New Zealand can make it in 1 and force Oracle to do 2 more attacks, the lead will double, maybe even triple.
Either 2 tacks or actually sit on their wind all the way up there. Either way, it's a big game for the Kiwis.
Very light here,
Keep going.
Little Lenny.
Keep it going. Oh.
Come up, boys. Quite light.
Hold.
Right on him here.
Yeah, the tough thing here for the USA is they haven't made any tactical mistakes. It's just boat handling, going through maneuvers, and a little slower speed.
Hold sheet, going W2. Little lefty here, Dean. They're going W2, please, boys.
Go, come guys.
Hold.
So if we get any header at the end here, it'll be left gate.
38-year-old Rob Waddell, number 11.
Can get you there if you want.
And the man with a 6 on his helmet, that's 56-year-old general manager Grant Dalton out there doing work.
2-time gold medalist Rob Waddell gasping for air there. That guy only just won every single rowing contest there was in the world for about 10 years, and here he is, desperate to breathe. Pretty amazing.
And I think Chris Ward, number 7, he's also gasping for a little air too, an indication that they're tired after so many tacks.
Todd, this is the punishment that Team New Zealand was looking for all the way. They set this weather mark up about 10 minutes ago.
Little right here, right at the mark.
Oh, that'll be okay.
Lay low.
Boundary, right?
Yeah.
Same as this for the rounding.
And in the light air, here comes the payoff pitch as Emirates Team New Zealand hits mark number 3 first, and they have pushed the lead to 200 meters over the Americans. Now look for the acceleration by the Kiwis.
Big trim now. Hold.
Right about, boys. Flattening about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That last tack, that last setup where they got on top of Oracle, gained them another 200+ meters. Just really, I can't emphasize enough. Great job by Ray Davies, setting this whole thing up to really put the nail in at the last minute.
And let's not forget the Americans had a 12-second lead at the last gate. Here they are at gate number 3, and the lead has gone up to over 44 seconds for the Kiwis.
You better set up, boys, just in case. And go in.
Hit the speed on.
Jimmy Spithill and his crew trying to find some magic, hoping for a mistake from Dean Barker and the Kiwis, something they have not done very often. There you see the distance as the Kiwis make their way back down towards the shore in the city of San Francisco, and then it's a right-hander. And Gary, they are just running out of real estate, the Americans.
New Zealand doing it exactly right, staying right in the center of the course, going downwind. I mean, I like the tactics aboard the American boat, although this jibe they went through was very sloppy, both poles going down in the water. They don't have a card to pull. This team's got to regroup very quickly if they hope to win the second race. Big wind shift here out on the water. The wind coming far off the land here, so they're only sailing a direct course down toward the leeward gate. That helps the lead boat, New Zealand.
Hey, Simeon, a little bit further back on the board. Simeon, just a little bit further aft if we can on the board. Just sucking down a bit. Go, Wing. We're actually lined up, not short-term well, but long-term a bit better than them.
He's just going through that light spot now.
Yeah. Okay, Wing.
Got a light spot coming here, guys.
Light spot coming. And that's lower here, Jimmy. Yep.
Those are the voices of Tom Slingsby, Todd, and Ben Ainsley in the back, desperately looking for any sort of puff that can try to reel in the Kiwis, who have a pretty dominant lead at this stage.
A little bit softer from now. Not much, but... Going. Okay, softer here.
There's four-time Olympic gold medalist Ben Ainsley. He's looking in the horizon and looking for answers.
There's really nothing a tactician can do here at this stage. The boundary is just to the left of them. Open race course in front. Competitor kind of down the road. I mean, Gary, I don't see a rabbit to pull out of a hat here right now if I'm Oracle Team USA.
Yeah, very, very bad luck for the American team to have this big wind shift, so they're sailing directly for the mark. I mean, the best thing they could do is learn from this race. They have to race the second race and think ahead. What did we learn here to help us the next time around?
So they are halfway down leg to leg number 4. Then it's the big right-hand turn to the finish line. And the Kiwis, again, looking so good, so in control, making no mistakes. And the Americans left grasping for straws because the Kiwis have been nearly perfect in this race. And once again, Kenny, it's leg 3 that is the undoing of the Americans.
Unreal. I guess, well, at this stage, it's not unreal. It's a when a trend just it's becoming reality. Every time they turn that corner, they got to be dreading that leg.
Slowly go down for you from here.
You know what?
It's just going to get a bit lighter.
You got to say
in
it.
general
Team New Zealand's just simply really fast upwind. And these guys have kind of been in denial for a little bit, Gary.
Yeah, sorry, Ken. I was just going to say, as an aside here, it's only blowing 10 to 11, and these boats are going 29 knots, almost 3 times the speed of the wind. That in itself is pretty impressive.
Green tape. 10. Right. 3, 2, 1. Drive it.
Listening to the calm voice of Dean Barker, 40 years of age, out of New Zealand. He has won an America's Cup. He would like to make it 2 America's Cup victories and take the cup back to New Zealand.
Much harder jibing in this lighter stuff, Todd, in this lighter air. It's hard to stay up on the foils. There just isn't enough momentum, enough apparent wind build up over the foil above the water to make the foils below the water work very well when you get down to those slower speeds.
Okay, good pressure coming on now, Jerry. Go, Trent.
Technically tight boundary at daylight.
Stop it.
50 seconds and a minute the other way.
Could be right spot, mate.
Ray Davies telling us they're almost in the center of the course. 50 seconds one direction, 1 minute the other to get down to the mark.
Yeah, no problem at all.
It's just so hard to imagine the way this race started with the Americans getting the whole shot, the Americans leading downwind to mark number 2, and actually leading about halfway up mark number 3, and then it all went the way of Emirates Team New Zealand, and now the lead is just enormous.
Well, in these games, in these races, it's kind of all about getting in the other guy's head, too. Clearly, right now, Jimmy Spithill is in Dean Barker's head off the starting line. That's several losses in a row, and this one was kind of a crushing loss. But maybe in the back of Dean's mind, he's just thinking, we're going to pass him anyway. Let's not screw this thing up. You know, let's not foul out. Let's not do something silly. Let's not run into him.
And the Kiwis ace in the hole seems to be leg number 3, because every time they have trailed the Americans on the first or second leg, they have gotten it back on the third leg. So here they are now set up perfectly for mark number 4. It'll be a slight right-hand turn and then a short blast into the finish line for what would be their 5th win. And remember, the Kiwis only needed 9 to take the cup, so they are more than halfway there if they pick up a victory now. So with a lead of more than 400 meters, the Kiwis bring it around the next mark, and they will out head for the home line and another victory. And it has been an impressive race for that man, Dean Barker, and his crew, as we check in on the water with Gary Jobson.
Todd, I just want to remark about the start. One of the reasons New Zealand might be so conservative, they don't want a collision. Their second boat's a long way from being able to sail, and it's not that fast. The Oracle boat is ready to sail, and it's pretty close in speed. So if I was New Zealand, I would take it very easy on that starting line. You can't afford any collisions out here.
As the Americans get to mark number 4, still over 35 seconds behind the Kiwis. And barring a major mistake by Dean Barker, which we have not seen during this entire campaign, it will be the Kiwis striking again.
Everybody talks about number 11, Rob Waddell, that he's smiling around the race course. No, he is just begging to breathe at that stage. That's what he's thinking.
And the good news, bad news scenario for everyone out there is they get about 30 minutes, and then they get to do it all over again. And if you're 56-year-old Grant Dalton there with the 6 on your helmet, you better hope someone brings you a nice energy drink or something to nibble on to get your energy back up. The day so far belongs to the Kiwis as they pick up their 5th win of this regatta. Well, with the size of that victory, Kenny, you might say they made it look easy, but as we listened in, those guys absolutely were suffering out on the boat.
Well, you saw Dean Barker do 2 things that were telling. Kind of a sigh of relief right before the finish, and then shook his head after the finish. He's thinking, I got to get off the starting line.
Hard to know that.
And as they cross the line, the deficit will be 47 seconds behind the Kiwis, and the Americans unable to capitalize on the lead after mark number 2. So they make the tactician change, but it does not yield the results that Russell Coutts and Jimmy Spithill were looking for. It's now time, as you put it out, Kenny, for a quick regroup.
Little tap on the shoulder from Jimmy Spithill to Ben Ainsley at the end. Nice job. I'm not sure, and Gary, help me out here. I'm not sure there was anything Ben Ainsley could really do much better on that, except for maybe stick a couple big engines on the back of Oracle.
Yeah, I think the only tactic you could have used there was almost to do a double tack, so you're trailing with them just to keep it close for the downwind leg. That's the one tactic you could have done.
So Dean Barker and Emirates Team New Zealand make the traditional flyby, and you can see just how light the wind is as they are just coasting by for the fans to get plenty of photos here who have made their way to AC Park. Normally the wind builds in the second race. Maybe that will help Oracle Team USA, but so far the Kiwis have shown they can sail in light or heavy wind. We now go on board with Emirates Team New Zealand their tactician, Ray Davies. Ray, congratulations. You didn't get the start, you didn't get the second leg, but in the end, all that counts is you get the win.
Yeah, that's right. No, we a little out on our time on distance there, and sort of just gave it to the Oracle boys in the pre-start. You know, we just have to work on that. And yeah, downwind, they sailed well. Didn't really give us an option, but we got a split at the bottom, which is pretty important. And then we just started chipping away from there. Obviously, the boys on board are just really attacking the boat well, and there's a lot of tacks, a lot of hard work up that beat. It was a pretty steady breeze. There wasn't much difference side to side, and at times we made little gains with pressure, but we just kept gaining in all the tacks. Yeah, it was a good race.
Hey, Ray, take us about halfway down that run and you're behind. Are you already looking for a way to get a split at that gate? Give us just an idea of your mindset as you're coming downwind and actually behind the other guy.
Yeah, definitely wanting to get a split for sure, because the gates are pretty square and the bottom part of that cone's pretty even, so the real gain is until a little bit further up. So you want to have a split, and we felt there's a little bit of pressure offshore, so we're happy to mix it up with the jibes. And the moment they didn't match our jibe, we knew we were going to be able to get a split at the bottom, and just had to try to keep it as close as we could. And each time the boat to the north or up towards Alcatraz was gaining each time, and we were able to make the last tack into Alcatraz, which gave us a little advantage from there on. And that small advantage, you can put the squeeze on and make it pretty tough for the guys behind.
Hey, Ray, I'm just wondering on the start, are you being conservative because you're worried about a collision or having a problem with the other boat on that starting line?
No, we'd rather smash them in the start. No, giving it our all in the start. We're not trying to be conservative. We'd rather be ahead from the beginning. It's a lot easier.
Ray, we appreciate your time. We'll let you get ready for race number 2. Congratulations on the big win.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay. See you later.
Emirates Team New Zealand with now 5 wins, just 4 away from taking the cup back to New Zealand as the boys try to get some nutrition in and try to load up on the energy. Same situation over at Oracle Team USA, as we're able to now speak with their helmsman, Jimmy Spithill. And Jimmy, it's hard to say it, but it's that leg number 3 that seems like the Kiwis have some kind of turbo boost in their boat.
Yeah, they've got some wheels out of the mark. That last gate, you know, we boys did a great job on the start line, and Benny and Tommy had a great run. And they were just able to claw their way back in front of us, unfortunately.
Jimmy, I assume your tactician did okay that race. Any comments about Ben's job?
Yeah, Ben did a great job. I mean, both he and Tom had great communication. You know, they were just able to really to get ahead of us there. So look, that's racing. We've just got to regroup and get prepared for the next one.
Well, you certainly seem to be going pretty fast downwind. Is there any way to maximize that to get further ahead down at that second mark?
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot. I thought the boys sailed actually a really nice run. You know, they took a couple of shifts or a couple of tough decisions, but I thought we handled that well. And look, we're just got to go out there with our heads clear. We can't change the last race. What we can do is go out there and try and get another win. So that's what we'll be focusing on now.
Jimmy, thanks for your time. Best of luck to you and the boys.
Thanks, guys.
Jimmy Spithill and Oracle Team USA, the defenders of the America's Cup, looking for a victory. They need one desperately today here on day number 4. So here we go with the start, and Kenny, the Americans, it looked like Jimmy was trying to fend off the hook that Dean Barker was trying to get in down below him.
Did a really nice job getting down toward that yellow line, which is our imaginary line called a ley line. In essence, he took the hook away. He took the chance for the 2 early boats coming back to the line, took the chance of Dean Barker getting position down below him and holding him off. Really well done. They picked up early that they were then late and actually got to the line well in advance of the Kiwis.
And in motocross terms, you would say the Americans clear away for the whole shot. They go right to the foils, and at this point, you're thinking they've certainly found something, definitely more speed.
And the sailors think that Oracle has pace downwind, so that's a good thing when you're around the mark first there, you would think.
Mark 2, still good news for Oracle Team USA, but here come the Kiwis, and they get the split on the course.
We talked to Glenn Davies. They did 2 jibes at the end to purposely get a split down here, and they start using their upwind speed.
Ray Davies doing a fantastic job for Emirates Team New Zealand. Here is the first cross, and this is the first sign that the Kiwis were back in it.
A big gain, a gain of almost 100 meters right out of the blocks, and now they're going to have starboard tack advantage.
And a little bit of strategy here. They played chicken on the high seas with these multi-million-dollar cats.
It's called being dialed down. You force the port tack or the non-right-of-way boat to oversteer to get around you and have to then come up a much higher distance to get back on the wind. Really well done by Dean Barker. And hey, in match racing, this is exactly the play.
And this is where the lead began to grow. The Kiwis, remember, we're down on leg 1, down on leg 2, and then they just started tacking all over Oracle.
Forced them up the left side of the course, made the course much narrower just through their tactics, and had a huge lead at that weather mark.
And for Dean Barker and company, all that was left to do was steam for home, and they do just that, picking up their 5th win. They are now just 4 away from taking the cup away from the Americans. Beautiful day here in San Francisco for the 34th America's Cup. Fresh off the heels of another Kiwi victory as we take a look at the numbers and try to figure out where the Americans went wrong. These are the downwind leg numbers, Kenny, and take us through it.
Well, downwind, you see the speeds are actually very, very similar. Distance sailed actually a little bit more by Emirates Team New Zealand. That's probably that first run. They just sailed a little longer distance, and sure enough, they were behind. Maximum speeds, you know, not much in it. Number of jibes is key. That one extra jibe was what Ray Davies did at that bottom gate in order to gain a split and to start the tacking duel coming up towards Alcatraz Island.
And a quick look at virtual eye. Here the Americans, after mark number 1, they get the hole shot. They maintain really a consistent lead almost all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, that one tough jibe right there. They came off their foils and almost got rolled by Team New Zealand, but from there on they sailed really well and then slowly stretch it out. They're a little lower. I think they can sail a little further away from the wind at the same speed. Good tactics here in the end. But the die has been cast. The split is going to be made here at this leeward mark, and all of a sudden Oracle's going to have to go upwind eventually. I think they just want a downwind race from now on, all the way down to Berkeley.
No question about it. The Americans look good at gate number 2, and you're thinking, all right, well, they did not do what they did yesterday. There was not an immediate tack, so you're thinking, great. Here are the overview of the upwind leg numbers, and this is where things start to change, especially in the number of tacks.
Faster, shorter distance, less tacks. You know, the maximum speed, you kind of throw that out. That would be Oracle trying to maybe reach through them. That could have been the dial down when Oracle had to go dip down underneath. But every single stat here dominant for Emirates Team New Zealand. This is where they won the race clearly.
Virtual eye will show us just exactly the course, and I'll tell you, if you're a grinder, get ready. You are going to do a lot of tacks on this upwind.
They think they turn the handles over 1,000 times during the 2 races in the course of the day, but they gain back the starboard tack advantage right away. That's actually an incredible turn of events. But Oracle comes back at them. They're out of the current a little bit more. They come back, Team New Zealand. It's who gets starboard tack here. These are 2 even boats. You think, man, we got a race, you know, we got a boat race here. But here's the big one. They just reel them in all the way down across to the left-hand side. Oracle has a slow tack. First dial down, gain another leg, and it's over. These guys just take off. It's game over at this stage. Faster tacking boat.
And at this point, it was the tacking war begins, and it was all over once they hit mark number 3, and the lead went up to almost 30 seconds around there. Well, there it is. 5 wins to Emirates Team New Zealand, the challenger, and just 1 win to the defenders of the 34th America's Cup. Oracle Team USA in a bad spot, in need of a big win in race 2.
What we've found is the boats are incredibly physical, more physical than anything we've done before.
The type of guys that are being hired now for these campaigns are really super young and fit.
The fact is, we will need to rotate our crew.
There's no place to hide on these boats. I'm 35 and these boats make me feel pretty old.
It's kind of like trying to play a rugby match every day of the week. You just can't do it. You need reserves, you need to bring guys in off the bench.
Usually in the morning we do pretty heavy lifting. So our gym sessions, we get in and kind of warm up at 7:15, 7:30, and then start working out at 7:45. And that lasts till about 9 a.m. It's a solid hour of lifting. And then in the afternoon, usually we do a 4 p.m. gym session if we're not sailing. And that's more of a kind of cardio-based workout, so more high-intensity workout. So get the heart rate up.
The exercise of getting the problem solved when the heart rate's close to max.
You get to a level of max heart rate where you're completely exhausted, and then you've got to make decisions. That's exactly how it is on the boat. And you've got to be able to think ahead, but make decisions in a calm way. Because if you make mistakes on this boat, they come at a big price.
So as you know, in previous cups, it just would have been all about your past experience and your technical abilities to make boats go fast. And I think that's starting to shift now, where it's a balance between technical abilities and athleticism.
Pretty much with these boats, everybody apart from the helmsman needs to be fit and strong. They need to be grinding at some point and helping sail the boat, helping the power throughout the boat. And you know, our Oscar, who's our head fitness trainer, is a great guy.
No, it's run by a nasty little circus pony called Oscar.
Right, bands up, crucifix.
He's our trainer, and he sets out sort of 4 or 5 week lots of training, puts on the board each morning what you're going to do as far as achieving those goals in that 4 or 5 weeks. So no, that's all watched pretty closely. And then even when we go sailing, we have the heart rate monitors on, and he'll, at the end of each day, you give it back, and he downloads it and shows you the next day how many calories you spent.
It's extremely physical. After a half hour going around the racetrack, you're pretty spent. I mean, it's tough sailing. I mean, most of the time you don't have time to pick your head up and look outside the boat. You're just head down all the time.
The boats are exhilarating. I mean, they are the coolest boats in the world out there, but they're demanding. It pushes the athletes on board right to the limit every day. They take you out of your comfort zone.
Well, one thing we know about this America's Cup is that we never seem to know what is going to happen next, and today was no exception with the last-minute crew change of Ben Ainslie on Oracle Team USA. Hi, I'm Tucker Thompson, joined by special guest Nathan Outeridge, the helmsman from Artemis Racing, and Chris Draper, the helmsman from Luna Rossa Challenge. And guys, Ben Ainslie was put in the very last minute in the tactician's role over John Kostecki. Chris, how difficult of a call was that for a team to make?
I think it's a pretty tough one, but I mean, at the end of the day, someone like Ben sat there, you're going to be pretty tempted to get him on the boat, and he's an incredible sailor, and if they feel that they've got an issue, and then it's an obvious decision to make. Obviously a very tough one for JK, but everybody that works within these teams, they all want to do the best to help the team win. So Ben will have got on there, and I thought their relationship that he had with Slingsby today on the boat was really impressive.
Well, you guys have both driven these AC-72s. As helmsman, how important is the role, the relationship with your tactician, and how new is it for Ben to slot into that role with Jimmy Spithill?
It's a big role to fill in. I thought he did a great job today. You could hear, as Chris said, great communication between Ben and Tom, but also Jimmy was, really getting involved in as well, and I thought they did a great job, and they were just feeding really good information. I thought they made great decisions on that first run, and then it became pretty obvious from that they had a big uphill battle up that third leg.
The third leg was tough, but let's start all the way at the top. The start with Ben Ainslie calling the shots. Jimmy Spithill did a good job. Guys, take us through it. Nathan, what's going on?
Yeah, I think Jimmy did a great job. He turned at the right moment and forced Dean to go past, and they're just trying to stop Dean getting an overlap here to leeward of him, and doing a really good job defending. And then I heard Jimmy say, we're almost on time here. And I thought they were going to be a little bit early, but because it was so light, they were travelling a lot slower than usual. And, Dean didn't really have much of an option for here. And Jimmy's doing a great job in the starts, I think.
And Chris, time on distance is crucial, particularly in this light air, right? How's Jimmy looking there?
Yeah, I mean, we're just into a good bit of tidal flood here as well. And I think if Dean was to play it back, I'm sure he probably would have turned inside. I think it was a tough one, like Nathan said. Jimmy turned at exactly the right time. Dean, a real tricky decision to make, and I'm sure in hindsight he wished he'd come back to the line a little earlier.
So Oracle Team USA did all they had to off of that start. Now into mark number 1, a comfortable lead. Things look good so far, right, Nathan?
Yeah, nothing's comfortable in this racing, but you know, that would have been a nice spot here, and you know, I thought they did a great job down the run of just keeping themselves in a good position to stay ahead. I think the light winds definitely suit Emirates Team New Zealand with their jibe strength, and they were jibing a lot better than Oracle, but I was impressed at how similar the jibes were and how they were just matching the whole way down, and you know, my heart was beating pretty fast that whole run for both teams.
It was an exciting run. The Kiwis clawed into Oracle Team USA a little bit, but the Americans stayed ahead at the bottom mark, which is what they needed to do. Now we go back upwind, and Chris, it's a split at the leeward gates.
Yes. The tidal cone just here, like at the bottom of the course, the lee of the tide from Alcatraz, that you want to play it however you can, and there's 2 different ways, and basically those 2 options were the only way that you could really tackle it.
Well,
but
there it was.
Straight away it gave, Team New Zealand that opportunity to get that split, and obviously we had a couple of crosses, and Team New Zealand did a lovely job on, I think it was the 3rd one, where they managed to get their bow down. There's a rule that says you're not allowed to go below 60 degrees, but that's only if the other boat is heading clear astern, and as you'd expect, Oracle tried to go for the cross but didn't quite make it. So then it means that they haven't got their bow down behind to go clear behind Team New Zealand, which is why Team New Zealand were able to dial them down and make a good sort of, that gave them that 50-meter gain that suddenly opened it up for them.
So Oracle in a bit of trouble. Let's go back and analyze the race, this time on virtual eye. The graphics fantastic, showing us what was going on upwind, Nathan, and we saw a lot of lead changes there.
Yeah, exactly. New Zealand get the starboard advantage here, which force Oracle to go behind. And then the next cross that comes here, Oracle takes starboard advantage. And this is the next cross, which is most important because it gets a more of an open track. And I thought Oracle should have gone all the way to the boundary here and tried to use the safety of the boundary. And it was this critical moment here where Dean really dials Jimmy down, forces him to go behind. And then from this moment on, the next cross was crucial, and Emirates made the cross, and from there it was almost race over.
Well, Ben Ainsley did a good job as a tactician, and there really wasn't much he could do on that race course. The breeze was lighter, there were speed differences in the boats, and Ainsley slotted into a role, and we thought did a pretty good job, all things considered. However, a tough race from then. Now, this was Ben yesterday. He's wearing John Kostecki's jacket, I think just to throw people off from the media before making the announcement that he was the new tactician. There he is talking to Coach Philippe Presti about how he's going to slot into his new role before they went training yesterday. That's Jimmy Spithill at the helm. Presti to the right, the coach, and Ainsley there getting ready to, ready to do the job at hand. But this was my favorite part yesterday. We saw some footage of attack, and you could see Ben Ainsley a little bit confused, let's say, when they went through attack. He wasn't quite sure which way to go. Let's have a look. Or maybe not. Oh, here we go. Good. So there he goes. He runs to windward, and he says, oh, hang on a minute. I think I forgot something. Jimmy helps him back across the boat. But in all seriousness, guys, he's in a different role and pretty much did a good job slotting into it, didn't he?
Yeah, I think they did a great job. Like we said earlier, I think the comms between Slingsby and Ben and Jimmy was great. But, I mean, those relationships do get built up over a long time, and it's tough. I got to work with Francesco Bruni, for a really long time, and we sailed together for a year and a half. And even after that amount of time, it takes really long time to build those relationships. But I think they did a great job today. There's definitely no issues there.
Well, there is more sailing to come, and this last-minute change is sort of a textbook Oracle playbook. In 2003, they swapped out their helmsman in the Louis Vuitton Cup. They did it again in 2007 when the chips were down, and now they've done it again. Is it too little too late? Can Oracle Team USA turn the tides? Can they retain the America's Cup with all the pressure and the eyes of the world watching? We'll see. The score is now 6-1, and the next race begins in a few minutes.
Velocity made good, right. How to put that into layman's terms.
These AC72 catamarans, they're powered by the wind, and the course is set so that the top mark and the bottom mark is directly in line with the wind. So obviously on a sailing boat you can't sail directly into the wind or directly away from the wind on these particular boats, so we need to sail angles. And basically a good VMG will get you from the bottom to the top in the shortest possible time, covering the shortest possible distance at the fastest possible speed.
You can go as fast as you like, but if you're not pointing at the desired direction, which is at the next mark of the course, it's not really doing you much good. So it's really the best speed you can make to the course. And sometimes that might be to sail really fast and lots of zigzagging, or it might be to sail slower but a more direct course.
VMG stands for Velocity Made Good. It's a simple calculation based on your speed through the water and your angle to the wind. Take a deep breath as former nuclear physicist and longtime Cup boffin Tom Schnackenberg explains the math.
One of the puzzles in getting the best performance out of the yacht is what angle to sail. I've got a component that's going straight downwind, and I've got a component that's going straight across the wind. And the combination is my real velocity across the water. I don't really care about going across the wind very much, but I really want to know how fast I'm going down the wind. The easiest way to calculate it is to take your boat speed and multiply by the cosine of the angle to the wind direction. That's how it's calculated, and anybody can do it on their hand calculator.
And exhale. If you didn't get that, don't worry. Here's what it means on the racetrack.
VMG upwind, for example, you can have either a low and fast VMG or velocity made good, where the boat will be travelling faster through the water but not as close to the mark as you would like to go. Or you can have a high VMG, which is you're pointing the boat very, very high to the top mark, but you're going very, very slowly.
Here's slightly faster, slightly lower, VMG slightly to him. He is vulnerable if we tack. He has to time it perfectly.
The juggle of getting the perfect VMG is having the trimming, the steering, the balance, and all the factors on the boat lined up perfectly so it achieves the shortest possible time to that top mark.
And that's, the trick of the sailors. They have to work out on the course, this trade-off between boat speed and angle to the mark.
People get VMG and then don't even explain why you want to sail it. Just say it's just something we want to know. Because it's how much bang we're getting for our buck.
Good VMG is effectively the holy grail of sailing, and certainly on these AC72 catamarans is definitely the number that we're all looking at.
You are looking live at the San Francisco Bay as the boats gather around to watch the second race of the day. This will be race 7 with the score 5 wins to New Zealand and just 1 win to the USA. And remember, the Americans were docked 2 points prior, so in effect it is 5 to -1. The Kiwis need 4 more wins and the cup is theirs. And for the Americans, they need 10 wins. All right, Kenny, if you're Oracle Team USA, the defenders of the America's Cup, what do you do different this time?
Regroup and try to do the same thing all over again. They really started out the race very well. They came in, they have the port entry again. They might have that slight advantage in the starting box again. You got to win the start. You got to be first around Mark 1, and then you got to hope that things don't get quite as mixed up on that beat. They have to try to stay ahead and not getting a tacking duel or pinned off to one side, as Emirates Team New Zealand has been doing so masterfully.
This is almost a completely different race course as the wind now is picking up to close to 17 knots. So it'll be very fast as we check in down on the water, and our man in the know, Gary Jobson.
Very different out here with the stronger wind, stronger flood current coming in. So it's a whole different day, even though we're 45 minutes after the last race. If I'm Oracle, I got to stay aggressive. New Zealand, they want to be careful, but somehow they got to win the start.
All right, more from Gary Jobson throughout this second race of the day. Katie, the course does not change other than the conditions. As we take a look at the entry box, the Americans do get port entry, but again, they're dealing with the same thing other than a slightly heavier flood current.
Yeah, it's still the same, though. Should be reasonably even from side to side. So once you get beyond Alcatraz Island, we clearly saw the tactics there. You should be able, if you're Oracle and you're ahead, you should be able to use both sides of the race course and minimize maneuvers. Key word there, though, is ahead. The same starting line, same quick reach. We know that Oracle has been fast on that reach and fast on that first run. Then we have the dreaded beat. If they can get to that mark quicker, we think they can hold them off downwind. And then the little blast reach into the finish. Same course as we see every day here in the America's Cup.
Final preparations underway for race number 7. On board Oracle Team USA, they look to be relatively casual and calm, a few smiles on their faces, but Ken, they know they have some serious work to do. This is almost a must-win race for them, isn't it?
This is absolutely a must-win race for them. Can't blame any of this on Ben Ainsley right now. I think he did a pretty good job, but they'll continue to work on their communication. Tom Slingsby was the key to making that work. We heard several times during that race that he was the link between the skipper and the tactician.
So before they get into the start box, we want you to know the game. Today's subject, it's all about the zone.
The first leg reach is brand new feature for America's Cup 34, often seeing some of the highest speeds on the race course. The rules of racing determines which boat has the right of way when rounding this crucial first mark. Approaching Mark 1, the boat on the inside has complete control. As soon as this boat hits the imaginary 3-boat length circle, the green light flashes on board. And when overlapped, the inside boat must be allowed room to round the mark, which typically means rounding uses the fastest angles towards the next mark. If the boats are not overlapped, the boat behind cannot cut inside the boat ahead once the boat ahead touches the 3-boat length circle. The boat ahead is allowed to round the mark as she sees fit. Knowing the game means understanding the rules, an integral part of sailboat racing at any level.
So there is the scene in San Francisco as we get ready for race number 7, day number 4, with the Kiwis just 4 wins away from claiming the cup. Conditions look fantastic. Wind is picking up, peaking at 17.2 knots, but holding steady at about 16.5 knots. Jimmy Spithill, Sir Ben Ainsley, and Tom Slingsby trying to work their magic and get the Americans a win. The Golden Gate Bridge, one of the most iconic shots in all of San Francisco, but right now everyone is focused on the water. Can the defenders of the Cup get a victory and push the Kiwis, especially on leg number 3? That is the key. The Americans do have port entry, so they will have a 10-second advantage getting into the start box. And the question will be, do they play the same tactic this time, knowing that Dean Barker's probably not going to fall for the block on the hook?
Well, it's all about that timing. Jimmy Spithill did it beautifully in that last start. He went back in a position and at a time that really took options away from Dean Barker. Let's see if he can do it again.
Maybe a bit out of here. Yeah.
I think about 12, mate.
Yeah, 12 will be a good number. No need to push it. Bit out of here, maybe.
Strong flood current. The boats are going to want to work on the windward end. That will be advantageous at the start.
So Spithill just a little bit late getting in, does not fully utilize that 10 seconds, but the Kiwis late as well.
It seems so obvious, Todd, but it's really difficult to nail these things exactly at the buoy, exactly at the time you want to be there.
Okay, you're on the line here.
go. 90 seconds away from the start as we check in on the water with Gary Jobson.
Todd, I like the fact that New Zealand's giving a little bit more separation this time around. That should help them out.
Hey, hold. He's tacking underneath. We are 2 overlaid on, Jimmy.
15 to kill for the line.
Only 15 to kill for the line, according to Ray Davies on Team New Zealand. Interesting that you can see where sometimes the tactician's comments or Ben Ainsley's comments are very different from what Kostecki is in this pre-start.
I like New Zealand's position. Being to windward is going to be very helpful on his first leg.
So coming up on 35 seconds, Kenny, and this time the Americans are much deeper, lower in the box. Have they given up a prime position to the Kiwis?
Well, I think there is time and distance now. This will be a reasonably even start. There's really no way that they can hook, I don't believe, from this position. This is going to be an even start. Something that Oracle has shown that they have boat speed on this first leg. They can make it stick.
And with 10 seconds to go, both of them point towards the line here for race number 7, day number 4 of the America's Cup.
Perfect start for Emirates Team New Zealand, exactly on the gun.
So the Kiwis get the better start, but not by much, and the disturbed air heads the way of Team USA.
Boat speed contest right now. Can the Kiwis get over the top of Oracle and give them wing wash like in race 1? And it looks like they've done it.
So it's Team New Zealand, the first to mark number 1. They have the advantage. What will the Americans do to try to counter the speed of Emirates Team New Zealand?
Pressure down here.
36 on the turn.
Wing, guys. Okay. Let's set up here. Stand by, guys. Stand by. Whatever you like, Jimmy.
Tommy. No! Yes!
He's poured down. He's gone. 20.
And the Americans, seeing that Dean Barker was setting up for that early jibe, they decided to go first. Ken, was it a smart move?
Well, he has to go. This is okay, creating a little split right now. You actually want to get out of the other boat's way if you think you're faster. They had a really good jibe on Oracle there. And so let's see if they can set themselves up into position to get down over the top of Team New Zealand.
Guys, get an overhead. What sort of speeds you think, Tommy?
35.
No, just build your car. Happy keeping it normal, man.
Yeah, maybe 34 should be okay.
Get pressure coming back on you now.
Just fantastic boat speed contest right now. Let's just hope the Batmobile here, that Oracle Team USA, is a little quicker on this run. That's what they're thinking. All their supporters are thinking right now. I can tell you that.
Traveling at about 36 knots. That's roughly 41.4 miles per hour.
35 seconds.
I think we'll cross, but we should be set up to match. He's all yours, Dino.
Let's go back and look at the start one more time, and this time Dean Barker, Ray Davies hit it almost perfectly at the line.
Yeah, but Jimmy Spithill, he was looking over his shoulder, and he actually watched Team New Zealand pull the trigger before him. I'm very surprised he didn't turn down a hair earlier. A lot of times as a helmsman, you kind of match the other guy. He hesitated a little bit here at the last second before he pulled the trigger, and that was all the distance Dean Barker needed off the starting line.
Taking a look on virtual eye, here was the start, what you're talking about, just that little dip. First cross of this race, and the Kiwis maintain their lead, and they will send back more of the unwanted gift of wing wash.
Emirates Team New Zealand isn't exactly pulling away, but they're holding. If they can hold into this mark, they'll love their position going up on leg 3.
On the water, Gary Jobson. Gary, what are you seeing from your vantage point on the committee boat?
Well, as you look at the two boats, notice that they have very different shaped forward sails. The jib, very wide and low on the Oracle boat, very tall and narrow on the New Zealand boat. So a different philosophy in that forward sail.
There's the illustration, just exactly what Gary Jobson's talking about. Ken, as a man who does this for a living, who has the right sail?
Well, completely different concepts is right, but it's really set up by, it's called a self-tacking jib on Emirates Team New Zealand. Many people think one of the reasons they tack so well is because the jib tacks automatically and they can use more guys on the grinding pedestals. Completely different philosophy on Oracle. They have to actually tack it manually every single time, like all of our conventional boats.
Come on, boys.
Go weak, go weak.
Okay, we're going to go to the lay line and do the leg split we can for the left.
Copy.
Sorry about that, John.
Go weak, go weak.
Not the best jibe on Oracle. We saw him splash down a little bit. You heard Slingsby say, sorry for that jibe. Not exactly sure what went wrong, but it wasn't their best.
10 seconds.
5. Stand by. Got it. Go forward.
Here we go.
The yellow line is the lay line, the direct line to the next mark. There you see gate number 2. This is leg 2 of 5, and this is not good news for Oracle Team USA. The Kiwis have the lead, and their strongest leg throughout this regatta has been the one coming up.
Left-hand split. Left-hand split.
Splitting left.
Go,
Straight in, boys. Straight in. Go wing, guys. Straight in. Go wing, guys. Go.
The wind picking up to 20 knots, holding steady at 18.7 at gate number 2. It will be Emirates Team New Zealand, the challengers. Which way will they go? They opt off to go to the right and head closer to shore, and it looks like the Americans will follow.
Now let's see if the Americans try one of these foiling tacks that they tried to pull off yesterday. This is a position where it could work. Just roll right into attack.
Stand by.
Stand by, hold it.
Come in.
3, 2, 1. Here we go.
So on leg number 3, the Americans are the first attack. Can they work out their problems on leg 3 and turn things around against the Kiwis?
Happy with fast numbers.
25, 4, 5,
25 knots.
Well, the distance has actually come down just a little bit, Ken, so they're holding just under 90 meters. The Americans trail the Kiwis. The problem is, though, when they go upwind, they seem to lose so much speed, and again, being dictated by the Kiwis of what they do.
Yeah, if you didn't know better right now, if this was the first race of the series, you'd be thinking, man, we got a boat race right here. But history has told us, history has proven right now that this is where the Kiwis just kick it into gear. Let's see if it happens again.
And the white line's coming down through the screen. You talked about that before. Explain that to the folks at home.
Yeah, a little bit of a cone here. Not as much of a cone situation that the lessening of the current right in behind Alcatraz Island. It's not quite as big a deal today as we've seen in the past, but it was slightly noticeable there before we went down to this low shot.
So negative hitting him all the way to boundary.
The setup here is not great for Oracle, though. They're going to have to tack at the boundary. We're going to see Emirates Team New Zealand tack right on top of them as they try to clear out.
So those blue triangles, that is current. The bigger triangles being stronger current. And there's what you're talking about, Ken Reed, the cone. Less current behind Alcatraz Island, which means less resistance going upwind, and it looks like the Kiwis are going to hold on to this for as long as they can.
Well, it's like they're sailing on a conveyor belt. You know, that's essentially what current is. They're sailing on a conveyor belt. You want to sail on a conveyor belt that's going a little bit slower than the other guy.
Man on the water, Gary Jobson, how's the current for you?
Well, the current's increasing and strong, and I like the New Zealand move. Stay right, stay out of the current, and just keep pushing the Americans back out into the middle of the bay. They'll continue to gain doing this.
Alcatraz Island there on the right side of your screen, a place that no one wants to go except for sailors as they are looking for current relief. And it is the Kiwis on leg 3 of 5, race 7, day 4. New Zealand leads America 5 wins to 1. Kiwis just need 4 more victories and they will take away the America's Cup.
You can see on these tacks, Todd, they've actually improved their tacks. They are getting that same look that Emirates Team New Zealand does. That weather hull pops right out of the water coming out of the tack. But like Gary reported earlier, they have so much less volume in the hull that's actually still in the water. It kind of digs in, a little submarining as it goes, as it comes out of onto the new tack.
Tack if nothing changes. Yeah. Pushing hard,
Man on the wheel, number 14, that is Dean Barker, 40 years of age. Just to his left is number 10, that is Ray Davies. And Ray Davies constantly looking back at where his opponent is and constantly looking on the water to look for pressure and better current.
No, he's not tacking, he is not tacking. He goes straight. 20, boundary tack anyway, yep.
So Ray Davies, number 10, he's the tactician for the Kiwis. And on the right hand, the far right of your screen, that is Ben Ainsley, normally helmsman. He is now the tactician working in concert with Tom Slingsby.
You saw Ray Davies actually jump into the wing trim position. They started to think about tacking and then they stopped. And then they were going again and they stopped. Obviously that's his position when they tack, and he had to probably sit there trimming the wing a little longer than desired.
And once again, if you're a fan of Oracle Team USA, the defenders of the Cup, the kryptonite has been exposed yet again. Leg 3, they were trailing by 80 meters. They now trail by 210 meters.
Just simply more of the same. Better boat upwind. Emirates Team New Zealand.
10 seconds.
And for the folks watching at home, is this a case of the Kiwis have a better boat or they're better sailors on the water on the upwind leg?
Well, sailors help create better boats. Let's put it that way. I mean, it's a team effort, and why a boat is fast or slow. Obviously, at this stage, you look at them and you say they didn't do something wrong, do something right, sorry, in their preparation, anticipating a situation like this and this incredible dominance upwind by Emirates Team New Zealand.
Part of the world out here. Big tack, we just roll with them now, right? Yeah. Otherwise, we just keep going, yep. Yeah, exactly. Keep it simple. That's a game here all the time, boys. Going really well.
You know, two things that are very interesting, Todd, is how relaxed Ray Davies is right now. Speaking from experience, when you're this fast, it's really fun being a tactician. Just really relaxed tone to his voice. Yeah, we can tack when you want. Yeah, whatever, go for it. Whereas there's going to be a little more tension back on Oracle right now.
Meanwhile, the Iceman, the man with number 14, the skipper and helmsman, Dean Barker, really does not change expressions whether he's winning or losing. So attack comes from Oracle Team USA. There you see those beautiful big wings on both of these boats. And fortunately for Emirates Team New Zealand, they are just a little bit faster, much to the dismay of the Americans. For more on the wings, we check in with Gary Jobson. Jobbo?
Well, if you look down on New Zealand or Oracle here, notice the platform under the wing. It's very narrow, and that platform underneath is very important. It creates an end plate, and you can actually get extra power, increasing the sail area. But notice how narrow that is, and when we get a chance to look at the New Zealand boat, it's much wider. I think the Kiwis have done a better job configuring their platform to get an end plate effect, which gives you more speed.
You are watching race number 7 of the 34th America's Cup. The Kiwis lead the day and lead the overall. Can the Americans come back and make a race of it?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree all the way in here.
And there is the distance between your leaders, Emirates Team New Zealand and Oracle Team USA, the defenders of the America's Cup. And this is going quickly as to script. Once again, leg 3 going back upwind. The Kiwis just seem to have extra speed.
Nice lefty here on you now. Yeah, happy with 24s and this left-hander.
Say no normal targets, 25.
Is that okay? His tags out there.
Bring you back to 5. Good job, boys.
Emirates Team New Zealand with a 5-1 lead on the Americans in wins, and they need 4 more victories, and they will take away the America's Cup back to the great nation of New Zealand. And they look very good here in race number 7, Kenny. Todd Harris, Gary Jobson, Ken Reed here in San Francisco, and the story is played out yet again. It is leg number 3 that has been the Achilles heel of the Americans.
He won't lay from there. Oh! Another 30 seconds.
New Zealand literally flying upwind, almost foiling here as the breeze has picked up to 18 nautical miles per hour. You can see the leeward hull on the left just about lifting up. This boat is really going fast.
Nearly 30 the other way. Having 20 right.
This is all part of a playbook for Emirates Team New Zealand. At this stage, they're going to try to just minimize maneuvers and make sure they keep Oracle pinned to the short side of the racetrack, which is the left side, over towards the city front.
Easy lay line here.
Just so smooth on these tacks. They really make it look easy. They're going to go up to what they're calling the left-hand side lay line. The boundary shouldn't come into play before they get there. One more tack in, and it's going to be tough to catch these guys, Todd.
If you've been watching our broadcast, and how could you not be, this is almost like Groundhog Day, though, because every day, leg number 3, whether the Americans have the lead at Mark II or not, this is what seemingly always plays out on leg 3. The Kiwis find an extra gear, make one less tack, and they're gone.
Just looked to me like Dean Barker got tired of getting beat on that start, you know, and all of a sudden you give these guys a lead, and if there's one thing they've proven since the beginning of the Louis Vuitton series is they don't give up leads ever.
Nice gains up here. Hey, right gate. 45 to boundary after the mark. 45 to boundary.
Beautiful shot of the Golden Gate Bridge, and there is 56-year-old Grant Dalton. He's known as Daltz. He's the general manager of Emirates Team New Zealand. And Gary, not many guys would go out and shop for a 56-year-old grinder, but he certainly has paid dividends.
Well, and as important as grinding, the fact is he's a spiritual guru of the boat, big brother. Anybody gets a little nervous, Grant Dalton's the guy that fixes it. I talked to him yesterday, and I said, I hope you're going to stay on for all the rest of the races, because I know you like to take the second race off. And he said, well, until you told me that, I was going to take a race off. But it's so important for him to be there. The only race they've lost and was when he was not on the boat.
Traveling at 22 knots, 25.3 miles an hour. And once again, it's the Kiwis, the first to gate number 3, and the lead has ballooned to over 400 meters as the Americans with this shot are nowhere in sight.
He's sitting on the tag, no problem.
So as Dean Barker and Emirates Team New Zealand speed away, the Americans can only look, and they still have 200 meters before they get to the gate, and that clock will continue to run, meaning they will continue to be in the rear-view mirror of Emirates Team New Zealand. At gate number 3, the Americans finally make it into the 3-boat length circle, and now the good news is, Ken, they can choose wherever they want to go. The bad news is they trail Emirates Team New Zealand for the second time today in excess of 50 seconds.
Really not much you can do at this stage. This is a tough spot. Being in a slower boat upwind is just never fun, and especially in such a world stage like this.
You talk about the money spent, the time spent, the technology involved, and the Americans just seem to have no answer for Emirates Team New Zealand and the speed they exhibit, especially on leg 3 of this 5-leg race.
Really good on that bow, yeah. Lower same than him, big gains.
Back in San Francisco for our friends watching in the Southern Hemisphere, this is great news. Emirates Team New Zealand is ahead of the Americans by more than 1,000 meters, and they are traveling at more than 35 knots. Fresh off a victory in the first race today, Dean Barker, Ray Davies and company are plowing ahead, looking to pick up their 6th victory, which would leave them just 3 short of winning this year's America's Cup.
We've talked in the past about perfect races and whether you can actually even sail a perfect race. They're going to look at this one right from the starting gun and say, man, there wasn't much we could have done much better if you're a Kiwi at this stage.
A rare moment for these guys to catch their wind as they have an enormous lead on Oracle Team USA. So it's play it safe mode now for Dean Barker and Ray Davies. And wow, you got to talk about the course and how it's been so favorable for New Zealand, Gary. Would you say it's skewed?
Well, right now it's almost a direct course going downwind, which helps New Zealand out, taking away the passing lanes. But one of the things, we're right behind New Zealand, is how much they change course depending on the wind. They get a little gust of wind, more pressure, they bear away. A little lighter spot, they come up, altering course 20 to 30 degrees at times.
And there you see it on virtual eye, Kenny. We're looking at the wind blowing in as well as the current Alcatraz Island, and talking to what Gary was mentioning there about the course.
Yeah, there's certainly been a little more southerly breeze which comes off the land, off the shoreline of San Francisco, and creates more of a one-sided racetrack. Yeah, starboard tack downwind is considerably longer than port tack, and when you take away these passing lanes downwind for the boat behind, that's never a good thing.
So basically what you're looking at is a drag race between New Zealand and America, and without having to make any jives or any turns going downwind, that man, Ray Davies, can plot a course almost directly to mark number 4, and it's a straight shot.
Straight shot is a tactician's best friend. You know, Todd, we were talking about Grant Dalton earlier. The first cup that these guys won in 1995, Peter Blake was the CEO, the famous Peter Blake. He didn't do one race. He was on board just like Grant Dalton. He didn't do one race in that whole series, and they lost that race. Grant Dalton, CEO, this time around, doesn't do one race. That's the only one they lose. I don't think there's a chance Grant Dalton gets off this boat again.
You know, Ken, when I was over the compound yesterday, when you walk in the front entrance at Emirates Team New Zealand, there's a picture of Peter Blake, a reminder of what a great man he was to all members of the team every time they walk through that door.
Peter Blake, a winner of round the world races, a winner of the America's Cup, one of the great New Zealand sportsmen of all time, really.
Still work to be done for Emirates Team New Zealand, and that man, Dean Barker, but they are inching closer to taking the Cup back to New Zealand. And at this point, you'd have to say, well, clearly they're the faster boat out there. They're better on downwind, they're better on upwind. They've kind of got the starts a 50-50 proposition, but when you're this fast, Kenny, they can split the starts with Oracle Team USA.
You know, the one thing I think the Oracle program never thought of is this boat-on-boat, hand-to-hand combat, what that would be like trying to tack this boat. Gary brought up a great point this morning. It's the amount of volume in the hulls, and that clearly has allowed the Kiwis to tack better. And it could just be the fatal flaw of the design team.
Emirates Team New Zealand immediately goes to foils as the Americans have yet to make it to mark number 4. They have closed the gap, but they are still trailing by more than 800 meters. On the final leg of the last race of the day, Emirates Team New Zealand sailing clear in 39 knots, or about 44, 45 miles an hour.
Wow. This is a huge win. This is devastating for the Americans, and for the Kiwis, just more of the same.
Ken, it makes me wonder, do you go back to John Kostecki for Saturday's race, or do you stay with Ben Ainsley?
I'm not sure the tactician had much to do with this one, Gary.
So after 4 days of racing, it is an absolute Kiwi whitewash. They lead at 6-1 as they pick up their second win on the day.
Emirates Team New Zealand Race Committee, can you please stand back to the door when you get the chance so you do your TV interviews clear?
Dean Barker and company, congratulations on a masterful job. This time they did get the start, never trailed for all 5 legs, and their lead ballooning up to over 1,000 meters.
Even though they won the first race of today, Todd, you saw kind of a disgusted look. These guys are perfectionists, and Dean Barker did not want, that was a kind of a humiliating start in the first race today. He sure made up for it in the second race.
We're going to do our flyby now so we can keep going. Just do our flyby now so we can keep going.
Jimmy Spithill talking about the flyby. They'll go by and wave to the crowd, but the Americans will finish in second place for the second time today, more than a minute behind Emirates Team New Zealand. So a change in tactician yields no better results for Oracle Team USA, the defenders of the America's Cup. Once again, the Kiwis own the day.
What really stands out here in San Francisco is how many Kiwi fans there are around. I think they're flocking in. Every jet airliner leaving Auckland Airport right now is heading for San Francisco Bay at this stage.
Well, there's only 4 million residents of that island nation, but I think more than half of them have made their way to San Francisco.
For all good reason. This is great sport. It's huge sport, obviously, in New Zealand, and good for them.
Well, as the saying goes, speed kills, and that's exactly what's happening in the 34th America's Cup. The Kiwis have the speed.
Talking to the designers before this event started, the edge, kind of the thinking on both teams was possibly the upwind edge was to Oracle and the downwind edge is to Team New Zealand. It shows how quickly things change when you have a development class like the AC-72s.
And the body language says it all for Oracle Team USA as they try to figure out what went wrong and how they can get it right. Meanwhile, for Emirates Team New Zealand, it's another day at the office as Dean Barker gets rehydrated for his big interview here. Dean, that's about the most work you've done today. You boys looked awfully sharp, and this time you nailed the start.
Yeah, I was, the first one was just a shocker, you know, I was half asleep all the way through that whole start, and, you know, we paid for it, and, you know, full credit to the guys for just digging it in. You know, it was never a sort of a lay down and let it go away in the first one, and we just stuck with it, stayed close and took our chances upwind. The you know, that one I was sort of a little bit more conscious of making sure I'd let the guys down, and it all worked out pretty much how we hoped. So yeah, very happy with the day.
Hey Dean, obviously you guys are dominant upwind. It's becoming clearer by the race. Is there something that you can pinpoint? Like, is there something that you guys have done that just all of a sudden clicked and you knew that, hey, we got an extra gear?
Oh, it could be these pie warmers on the back. I think we're obviously doing something.
Well, Dean, you know, you're going pretty darn fast upwind, as Kenny just alluded to. But downwind, Oracle at times seems to have a little edge on you. What can you do between now and the next race to improve that downwind speed?
Well, you know, you can't be good everywhere, and it's a trade-off. And you know, you'd have to say that Oracle, you know, they look stable and pretty fast. You know, obviously reaching and downwind, and you know, we sort of feel we can hang in there enough. But you know, you've got to pay a price somewhere, and maybe you know, the price is upwind for those guys. So. You know, we could try and improve our downwind, but we're pretty happy with our all-round package. So it's just racing the boat well, and then if we can be in touch, then we can certainly race them upwind.
Dean, thanks for your time. We'll let you restock the pie warmers. We'll see you on Saturday.
We will. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Dean Barker, Emirates Team New Zealand, on a dominating performance today. They win both races 6 and 7. And now they are on top 6-1 on the Americans, 3 wins away from taking away the America's Cup from Oracle Team USA, as the fans have made their way down to Pier 27-29 for a beautiful vantage of some of the best boats, fastest sailors on the most impressive course in the world. The America's Cup certainly living up to the billing as Oracle Team USA tries and gets things right. They made a swap at tactician, bringing on board 4-time Olympic gold medalist Ben Ainslie. And for Jimmy Spithill and company, it just did not work today. Emirates Team New Zealand once again faster on both leg threes as they get wins in 6 and 7. As we take a look at the race one more time, and it all gets off on that start box, Kenny, and this time, as Dean Barker made the right call, we go on board Oracle Team USA. And Ben Ainslie, glad to have you with us. Congratulations on your appointment as tactician, but welcome to the fire. What can you and your crew do to turn things around against the Kiwis?
Yeah, well, we just have to keep fighting. You know, it's good that they do have an edge upwind, but you know, we've got to keep looking at the other options, what we can do to the boat to make it go faster.
All right, thanks for your time, Ben. We will see you on Saturday. We'll let you boys regroup as we begin to lose that signal. But again, Oracle Team USA, as Ben said, they'll just keep fighting, and they will be back on Saturday as we will have races 8 and 9, and that would push the Kiwis very close to the clinching blow, which could come on Sunday. Here's the start of the race in race number 7, and this time, as Dean Barker pointed out, he was not asleep at the wheel.
He was definitely not asleep at the wheel. He had a strategy. Listen, these guys are both, they've now match raced these boats a ton, and they're starting to get a real feel for where they want to be in the starting box. Dean wanted to get to weather, like Gary called before the start. There's a lot of flood tide up at that end of the bay. He pulled the trigger a couple seconds before Jimmy Spithill, and that's all they needed.
So it was a drag race to mark number 1, and the Kiwis clearly had more speed up on foils. Jimmy Spithill has to give way, and at mark number 1, the Kiwis make a very nice turn.
The little wing wash all of a sudden slows them down that extra little bit, and it's off to the races. When these guys get ahead, as we've said a million times now, they just simply don't make mistakes.
The first jibe for the Kiwis, and why should we expect anything else? They roll right over the top of the Americans, send back the dirty air, and so clean that the Kiwis increase their lead.
So what they did on that run was keep in sequence with the Americans to lead into this mark rounding. Like, they just stay in sequence, and they're going to round the same mark. They don't even give the boat behind a chance to split at this mark. Just really good overall strategy and tactics by Ray Davies on board New Zealand.
On the third leg, once again, the Kiwis showed they are just faster upwind.
Only 100 meters, and in a perfect world, we'd be saying, man, this is a boat race. But the fact is, we've seen this movie before, and it's got a really unhappy ending for Oracle Team USA.
At this point, the Kiwis make the turn at mark number 3. Their lead is over 900 meters. So 10 times the lead they had at the last mark, and the acceleration out of this as the Americans can only look on.
Cool, calm, and collected on that beat. Ray Davies just said, hey, yeah, we can tack whenever we want, Dean. You're almost, their speed advantage is so much they can almost do what they want.
Another day at the office for Dean Barker and company as they steal the day. 2 wins on the day for Emirates Team New Zealand. So the water clears. The 2 competitors head back to the docks as they will continue to look over the boat in preparation for Saturday's showdown.
Welcome back to America's Cup Park here in sunny San Francisco. Hi, I'm Tucker Thompson once again, joined by Nathan and Chris Draper. And guys, New Zealand sailed pretty much a perfect race, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They won the start. Dean said he had a shocker in the first race today, and he really fixed that up. And, you know, once they let around Mark 1, no mistakes the whole race, and just a typical Kiwi race from my perspective.
And Chris, listen, you've been in this position before. The game is not over for Oracle Team USA. What can they do tomorrow? What can they do in the rest of the series? Tactically, strategically, teamwork, boat speed? What do you think?
Yeah, they've had such a tough few days pressure-wise. I think, to be honest, I mean, the first few races we saw them a lot closer. I think today was the biggest drumming we've seen them get, really. And I think they probably benefit well from going and having a rest, regroup, and come out. They've improved from where they were in race 1 and 2. They've really worked on some of those elements, and they were very close then. So I'm sure they could come back very strong.
So is the writing on the wall? Is the final nail in the coffin? Well, I tell you what, anything can still happen in the America's Cup, and it often does.
History, of course, has to come to an end at the present day. And the present day, our America's Cup history is now steeped in catamarans. As an old catamaran sailor from way back, I couldn't be happier. But these catamarans are now going one step further than ever. They're now on foils. But when did it all start? Really, when Larry Ellison got a bit upset with Ernesto Bertorelli and decided that what he'd planned for the America's Cup was illegal. So he took him to the New York Supreme Courts, and in a very prolonged battle there, managed to win the right to challenge for the America's Cup in multi-hulls. Well, he built the biggest one ever, with the biggest wing ever built for anything, and he won the Cup quite quickly in 2 races in Valencia in Spain.
I think it's trending just a little bit. The America's Cup 33, BMW Oracle beats Alinghi in the long-awaited, much-heralded clash of these multi-hull giants.
He was absolutely superior with this trimaran with the huge wing on it over Ernesto Bertorelli's catamaran, which had a soft sail. So when he comes and brings the Cup back here, we're going to have it in catamarans with wing sails. Quite obvious the way to go, isn't it? The future of the America's Cup lies in the hands of those who hold it. And unless there's a change in the holder, I don't think we're going to see anything but catamarans for the foreseeable future. But who knows? Should Emirates Team New Zealand win, there's every likelihood it could return to monohulls. Well, is that a backward step? I don't know. Let's take it as it comes. It's a cup of controversy, and it will remain that way.
So as the fans continue to make their way down to America's Cup Park for the aftermath of today's racing action, we can tell you that it was a complete Kiwi domination on day 4. Race 6 and 7 go the way of the Kiwis, and there's your score. 6-1 on wins. The Kiwis now just 3 wins away from taking the America's Cup. Kenny, we thought we might see a change from the Americans as they replace their tactician to go with Sir Ben Ainslie, but no such luck.
No such luck. I don't think the tactician had anything to do with today's race. We saw a dominant boat, dominant speed, dominant agility upwind, big wins for obviously for the Kiwis.
So on behalf of Gary Jobson, Kenny Reed, I'm Todd Harris saying so long from now from beautiful San Francisco and the 34th America's Cup.